Alright guys, today we are going to look at how we can graph inequalities. We will be using the idea of y is equals to mx plus and other slope 2's in order for us to graph these inequalities. So looking at the inequality, this one, which is when you turn your elbow, your left elbow, this become less than. The next one is less than or equals to. And another one here, when you turn your right elbow, this become greater than, and this become greater than or equals to. When we are graphing, when it's greater than or equals to, we use a solid line, and the shade is going to be the above. And now we will demonstrate that in a minute. Here is greater than, we use a dashed line and then shaded above. And this one, we use a solid line because we have equal sign, and we will shade below. And here we will use a dashed line, or somebody will say a breaking line, and then we shade below. So if I have a line going through here, so here we realize that this is a solid line, so it could be less than or equals to, or greater than or equals to. And if I shade, say here, so here we look at the two sections. We have section 1 and we have section 2 here. And we realize that this section here, section 1 is above. So if we are using an equality, this have to be greater than, and then the line is solid, so it's going to be this here. Okay. So if we were supposed to consider the section 2, then this one would have been is below. This is below. And since it's a solid line, this would have been the left elbow with an equal sign. Okay, let's look at another orientation. In the same way, if we have our line here, which happens to be a dashed line or a breaking line, and we have shaded or bubbled here, and then we want to use the inequality here, we can say that between the section 1 here and the section 2 here, this one is above and here is below. So in that situation here, if we were supposed to use inequality, then we have to use greater than. We have to use greater than here without the equal sign, because the line is a breaking line. So any point on that very line is not included because it's not part of it. It's a dashed line. If we are considering here, the below here, if we are considering the below here, the section 2, we would have used less than. We have been given. So we're going to write the inequality without the inequality sign. So here was y is less than or equals to negative x plus 4. We need our slope. Okay, so our slope, which happens to be here, is negative x. So we assume it's negative 1. So negative 1. Since we are using rise over run, let's divide it by 1. Every number is over 1. We need our y-intercept, which happens to be the b, and that's 4, and that's normally the start point. And then we look at the slope. The slope is negative, so here is a negative slope. Negative slope. And negative slope is down the hill, so we start at 4, and then we fall down 1. We fall down 1 here. We have to run here to the right because we need that. So here the point come right here for this. So the point come right here, and then we fall down 1 again, and then we go to the next. Okay, we fall down one and we go to there. So then we draw the line. We are using a solid line, so we trace it. It's not going to be to there. It's just a sketch. Cannot draw it to the. Okay, so this is down the hill, which is a negative slope. And now it's less than, so we are going to bubble below. So here we look at less than, we are going to bubble as we trace a solid line, and we are bubble below, and then we shade the whole of here. So any point down here is going to be a solution, and we are done. Okay, so we have been given another example, which is y is greater than 2x plus 3. First of all, we have to set it up as y is equals to ms plus b. We need our slope, which is the m, and that's 2, and then every number is over 1. We need our y-intercept, which happens to be b, and here is equals to 3, and that's the start point. Okay, so let's go to the graph, and first of all, the slope is positive, so we are going to go up the hill. Okay, so we start at 3, which is halfway here. So we start at 3, and then we go up 2. So we go up 1, 2, and then it's going to be a positive slope. So for that matter, we have to run to the right hand side 1. So we come 1, 1 is all the way here. So we run all the way here. And we go up 1, and we run 1. We can also fall 1, then we go 1. So realize that the points are here, and at the start was 3, which is here, and then another point here. So we can draw a line through that, and here is going to be a breaking line, so it's going to be a dashed line all the way. Okay, and we have to bubble. So greater than is a dashed line, and we have to bubble above. So we have section here, so we bubble up here. So any point within this section here must be a solution to this inequality. All right, now we have been asked to write the inequality in the slope intercept form for the graph below. So we have graph 1 and graph 2, and we are going to do that. Remember, we are still using the idea of y is equals to mx plus b. So here we can use a rise over run, and we know that for us to get a slope is rise over run. So when we are here in this question here, we are rising. We could see that it's rising 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it run 1, 2. So here the slope is 4 over 2, which is 2. But we have to look at it's going down the hill, so the slope going down the hill is negative. So here this will be negative, that will be negative. And we need our start point, we need our y-intercept, which happens to be here, right here. So here the b is positive 4. So we write our y, and then we write our negative 2x here plus 4. And now we have section 1 and section 2. Realize that we have bubbled or shaded the below, and it's a solid line. So below we use a less than, and it's a solid line, so equal, and this give us. Okay, let's look at the graph 2 here. So here we need our rise over run if we can able to trace it. Okay, so here can trace it, it forms a triangle. So we realize that this is tracing all the way here. So you could see that it's rising 1, 2. So the rising was 2. So the rise is 2. The run we look at here, see that the run is starting from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 8. You can simplify it. 2 go into 2, 1. 2 go into 8, 4. Here we realize that this is going up the hill. So going up the hill is a positive slope. So the slope is a quarter, 1/4. Okay. You can also use the other formula if you don't want to use rise over run, and we have discussed that in one of our videos, so you can double check with that. Here now we need the y-intercept. So the y-intercept, the graph cut the y at this point here, and here we see that it's going by 1 1, so here is going to be 1, so we cut it here. So our y-intercept, which is a b, is 1. We leave a space. We don't know which inequality we are going to put it in there for now, but the slope is 1/4x and it's plus 1. Now we realize that the shaded portion is below. It's below here. We're going to use less than, and it's using a dashed line, so it's less. Okay, so let's look at. So we are looking at graph 3. Remember, we are still using y is equals to mx plus b. So here we're using we need our slope, so we can count how many times it rises and how many it runs. You see, we started at this joint here because the point is here. So we start from here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it rises 4. So the slope it rises 4. And then it runs, starting from here, it runs 1, 2. So divided by 2. Here we realize that it's coming down. So down the hill is a negative slope. 4 divided by 2 is -2. There's a negative in front of it. Now, where did the line cut the y-axis? Here is the y-axis and they cut it right here. So here, that means our b is going to be 4. And it's positive 4. So we write our y, we leave a space because we don't know the inequality that we're going to put it in there. We got -2x and then plus b. Now realize that there's a 2 section. We have section 1 here and section 2, and we have the bubble, the shaded is here, and here between the section 2 and 1, realize that section 2 is above. So if it is above, it's greater than, and it's using a solid line, so it's going to be greater than or equals to. So you bend your right hand side. This here, we look at 4, graph 4. We want to write an inequality for it. So here we can form a little right triangle here, and you count how many times did it rise. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this also slope rises 4, and then it runs 1, 2. So it runs 2 here, and here too. We see that it's down the hill, got -2 here. So -4 divided by 2 give us -2. So the slope is going to be -2. We need our y-intercept. That one also crosses here, which happens to be 0, 4, which is 4. So our b is also 4. Now we have 2 sections. One side is bubbled, one side is not. So we can call here section 1 and section 2. So realize that section 1 has been shaded and is below the graph. So here is below. So we write our y. Below is less than, and it's a dashed line, so it's just less than. Our slope was -2x and the y-intercept was 4. Please subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video.